Another race, another circuit, another week of wondering quite how I'll manage to fit everything in. Welcome back, or if you're new to here, welcome. I'm about to take you to Beniganim for the latest event in the Circuit Vall Albaida, and trust me, there's plenty to talk about. But before we get to the race day itself, let me give you a flavour of the week that led up to it, because it was a week. Technically, it was a semi-holiday. One of the main online schools I work for closes for a couple of weeks, so those classes disappeared from the schedule. Lovely, right? Well, I also teach UK students whose Easter holidays don't start until April, and some of their parents are particularly enthusiastic about their children not losing momentum in the meantime. Deep joy. No rest for the wicked. It wasn't the smoothest of weeks, it has to be said. I ran into a creative roundabout trying to get my thoughts about Al-Farazi out of my head and into a video. And when I finally managed it, my computer had other ideas. Simple video it could handle, but anything more complicated, overtime rates, thank you very much. Then, out walking the hamster hounds, a passing thought about shoe selection for different terrain somehow grew into a full podcast idea. And yes, my faithful Acer PC once again clocked up overtime. It's looking increasingly like I'm hitting the limits of what my technology can handle, and fixing that is not going to be cheap. Then there's the 5:30 race start. I'm perfectly happy with it. It's a civilised time. One other member of the household, however, is considerably less impressed, particularly when it gets in the way of her social life. This weekend was one of those times. I'll leave it at that. So, large quantities of food and drink before the drive back to Casa Hamster, navigating to Beniganim without attracting any unwanted attention from the Guardia Civil Trafico, a household atmosphere that could be best described as atmospheric. What more could possibly go wrong? Now, if Al-Farazi was a race powered by fish and chips, and another shout out to Chef Megan at the Ontignan Rastro by the way, then Beniganim was most definitely powered by cake. Not just any cake, mind you, a spectacular creation brought to us by our friends Jessie and Tatyusha. Tatyusha named it after the Katyusha rockets from her home country, but with her own very personal twist, the Tatyusha. Beautiful name, even more beautiful cake. It was the perfect end to a wonderful reunion meal with our friends in Calpe, and a huge hello and welcome back to one of my absolute favourite people, Vadim. A genuinely fantastic guy who we simply don't see anywhere near enough of. Good food, great company, brilliant cake, what more do you need? Eventually we dragged ourselves away, headed home, and I turned my attention to the race. Standing there mentally visualising the route, easy start, looping around the village, long hill, another loop over the line. Simple enough, right? Well, Nobody had apparently passed that information on to the course planner. I had the uphill part roughly right, as it turned out. The rest of it, we'll come back to that. One last decision before heading out: shoes. I stood at the shoe rack and, in a last-minute executive decision, passed on the Salomons. Nothing wrong with them at all. I simply spotted the Saucony Pros, and that was it. Light, bouncy, and honestly, my favourite race shoe. It felt like the right moment to renew our friendship. I parked up without any drama alongside some friends, made my way to the start area and found the place buzzing. The children's races had just finished, and some of the keener types were already warming up. I'd be warm enough once the race got going, thank you very much. I had a look around for some of the running group, but they were proving difficult to spot. Eventually, I found a few familiar faces near the start line. The usual and very well deserved thanks went to the volunteers, the town hall, the organisers, and of course us, the runners. And then we were off. That's when things started to go wrong. I remembered the race from last year. What I'd somehow managed to completely blank on was the short, sharp slope right at the start, up and around the village, and it absolutely destroyed my breathing within the first few minutes. Race expectations rapidly adjusted. I'd be lucky to finish this one, never mind anything else. Still, I plodded on. Past the start area again, enthusiastically welcomed back by the race announcer. Less. Around the corner, then up again, this time heading out of the village altogether. Most of the field were long gone by this point, well and truly out of sight, but I kept moving and refused to walk if I could possibly help it. And somehow, I actually passed a few runners along the way. I knew full well they'd return the favour later, but I'd take that for now. The countryside there is genuinely lovely, by the way. Whenever I was actually able to gulp in enough oxygen to appreciate it, that is. A kind volunteer handed me some water, and I looked ahead to what I was expecting to be a long, smooth, glorious downhill returned leg. Yeah, about that. The return section turned out to be less of a gentle descent and more of a roller coaster. Up and down, up again, relentless. Not exactly what I had in mind. And then, just to add to the fun, I heard voices behind me. Two guys chatting away, getting closer. Now there's a technique that a lot of runners use in exactly this situation, and if you run you'll probably know it. You listen to the spectators clapping. You time the gap between when they stop clapping you and when they start clapping the next runners. As long as there's a gap, you're okay. The gap got shorter and shorter, and then no gap. They were clearly right on my shoulder. I had absolutely no idea who it was, and I was definitely not going to turn around to look. We came back into Beniganim, and I was still ahead, just. The loop around the village felt it lasted forever, and if anything, those guys seemed to be getting even closer. I kept pushing. I won't pretend I wasn't mentally preparing for the indignity of being passed on the final straight, because I was, but somehow, I don't quite know how, I held on. crossed the line ahead of them. In reality, they probably took pity on me, but in my head, I just won an absolutely epic battle. Small wins, right? We shook hands at the finish, joined the queue for post-race refreshments, and result, there was actually some left this time. Last year I was too slow and missed out entirely. Not today, lesson learned. And it was brilliant to see Carlos cross the line too. He really is an outstanding runner. So, Beniganim, 7.5 kilometres, doesn't sound much, does it? Don't let it fool you. This is one of those races that is considerably harder than the distance suggests. And if you ever get the chance to run it, you'll know exactly what I mean the moment you hit that first hill. So, a couple of weeks off from the circuit before we return to the Albaida event itself. Now, if I remember rightly, this one is a little different from most. Almost all is within the village and its immediate neighbour, Benissoda. So, no campo running this time. Whether that's a relief or a disappointment, I'll leave that entirely to you. I hope you'll join me for that one. It should be a fascinating contrast to everything we've seen in the circuit so far. And if you've enjoyed the video, please do hit the like and subscribe buttons. It genuinely helps support the channel, and frankly, it makes me feel wanted. Until next time.